Everything I did and strived to do, and I worked very hard at doing things the right way, always did for me. I still have to work at it because I'm selfish. One of the things that I'm really working on is to make sure that I do the right thing, which I have always tried to do, but for the right reason. My wife and I started coming to beach with some friends at the invitation of some friends, probably 16, 17 years ago. My wife came often, if not every weekend, and I was busy. I always had some excuse for not making it to church. I came once in a while, but not much. I guess it was 2012. I had a routine doctor visit at the heart doctor, and he has a huge practice and therefore a huge waiting room. I was waiting in a chair at the far end of the room, and I noticed a little lady walking towards me, elderly lady, and she caught my eye for whatever reason and walked straight over to me and handed me a small packet with a smile on her face. She didn't say a word. I looked at the packet, and in the packet was I could see a handmade cross and a note. I looked at her, I was somewhat dumbfounded, and she smiled just an angelic smile and turned around and left. Never said a word. I don't really remember even seeing her go back to her seat, and I didn't see her again the rest of the day. Finished the doctor's visit, walked out to my truck, and I hung the cross on my rearview mirror, and I sat down and I read the note, and it was called A Map to Heaven, and it had a few verses on it from John and several other chapters. I read it and I was moved, and I knew that something had happened that day, and I felt different immediately. I went to church here, came in, sat down, and I felt entirely different than I had all the previous visits to the church. It had meaning, it was meaningful. And lo and behold, that day, Pastor Jerry's sermon addressed all of my questions that I had about the church, answered a lot of questions about myself, and it was as though he was preaching to me. God was calling me. It was my time. Having come back into the church and accepted Jesus as my Savior, I knew there were a few things that I had to get straightened out. My wife and I had gotten married in a civil ceremony with the Justice of the Peace. I asked Pastor Jerry I would like to reaffirm our marriage. My wife, Judy, and I and Pastor Jerry went over into the chapel and reaffirmed our vows. And of course, I cried like a baby the whole time. More than a wedding, it was me confirming that I had come to Jesus and was following the path that I thought I should be following and doing the right things. I've joined some disciple classes with Pastor Carmen. I'm growing my faith, and I'm definitely a work in progress, but I'm at least in progress.